One.
Parashat BECHUKOTAI. Before we start, the amazing food here today was sponsored by the Al-Kaslasi family. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and this year is dedicated to their success and their good being. Also, it's dedicated to Refuah Shlema Mazal Bat Rachel, Shachaf Bat Lilach, and Miriam Bat Istam, and to the Atzlacha of Eitan Naftali Ben Yitzchak Shalom, who is missing in action in Israel, and hope to see him soon. And Eliyahu, I cannot really see, Eliyahu Ben Avraham, and Leilu Nishmat Freya Bat Sarah Bechor Ben Penir, Reuven Ben Mazal, Mazal Bat Zilpa, Vehinda Gitel Bat Chaim Yitzchak Halevi. Let's go, because it's very long and I have a lot to say. Now,
Mordechai HaKohen Ben Ham.
בסדר, גם הוא. פרשת בחוקותיי ends Sefer Vayikra, and a great portion of this parasha describes what will happen. But is it Mordechai ben who?
Mordechai Ben Han.
Chana. I had to just think about it. What will happen if we're going to fulfill Im bechukotai telechu ve'etz mitzvotai tishmor, if you follow my laws and if you keep my mitzvot. My laws is even those things that you don't make sense to you. And what will happen if we are not going to act like that? In this connection, in this, how should I say it? In connection to that, the Torah uses a verse, an expression that comes out a few times, and for both cases. It says, "Ufaniti elechem veifreti etchem veherbeti etchem." If you going to keep my mitzvot and so on and so forth, it says "Ufaniti." Faniti means I will turn to you, but also mishum panim, right? Faniti veifreti, and I will multiply you, and you're going to be a lot. And that's in pasuk 9, tet. And on the other side, it says, "Venatati panai bachem." And if you're not going to listen, and I would place my face upon you, v'nigavtem lifnei oivechem, and you're going to run away from your enemies, v'radu bachem sonechem, and those who hate you and you hate them are going to overpower you. They're going to go all over you. They're going to rule you. The question is asked, how is it possible that the same words, panai, panim, would describe two opposing situations and so polarizing from one another? And even more so, according to the Kabbalah, we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is our creator, is endless of light and endless of love and endless of joy and giving and all good. So how is it possible that if you don't keep his laws and his commandments, he's going to do such bad things to you, or such bad things will happen to you? How is it possible? So the Zohar explains that reality, the objective reality, is that of endless good and endless abundance and love and giving and so on and so forth. However, the subjective reality that we have interprets our expression, the reality of our expression, according to our personal story, our personal essence, our character and our personality. That's why each and every one of us experience differently a reality that in a way objectively is endless good, but subjectively is worlds apart. So at the end of, guys, this is something that is very important to understand. I mean, if you just take that from the parasha and apply it to your life, well, boy, oh boy, you change the whole entire thing. It's a very scary thing. I mean, let's say two people can be in the same situation, experience two different things whatsoever, and both of them are right. Both of them are right. At the end of the portion of the curses, the Torah says, "Ve'av gam zot beheyotam be'eretz oivehem," and even when so and I would spread them all over the four corners of the earth. Together with that, lo me'astim ve'lo ge'altim lechalotam. Goal means to be disgraced. So I would not abandon them, and I would not disgrace them. Now comes a very interesting word, is lechalotam. Lechalotam means really to end them. However, the way that the word is written is a little different. It's written lechalot, should be with a vav. It's written without a vav. So we need to understand now personally. And that's, I just spoke before with Jonathan about this. When a person hates another person, he feels towards him a sensation of repulsing and disgust and so on and so forth. However, you need to know that we have a need, an internal need inside of us to come up with excuses and stories. Why do we hate this person so much? It's basically a whole personal made-up thing. It's your crooked perspective. And in our parasha, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says those words, he is talking about his beloved object, us. Us. He's talking about us, that he loves us so much. And it's very perplexing how he's going to say it. And he's thinking, I'm not going to forsake them. I'm not going to abandon them, and I'm not going to be disgusted by them. Now, you should know that in creation there are two sides. And we're not talking about yin and yang, we're talking about two sides of creation based on the Kabbalah. There is the masculine side, where are you going? Masculine side, and there is the feminine side. And it's very interesting. This is how we create the balance in the world. This is how we create balance in the world, by doing so. Well, men and women, it's not necessarily it. It's more of a representative of those two things. The masculine side gives. It's the side that gives. Right? Just like a man and a woman, there is a side that gives. And that is the side of light. The light of the creation. Right? By the Creator. By God. The feminine side is the side that receives, and that is us. We are the one who receive. And that's why we need to read the pasuk, that verse, a little differently. Lo me'astim velo ge'altim. I would not disgrace them, and I would not be repulsed by them. And the question is, why?
To hurt.
No. Lechalotam is to erase them, but read it like this. Because lo al tikra lechalotam ela lekalotam. This is my bride, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. Am Israel is my bride. Am Israel is the adapter in which all the abundance comes to the world. I love Am Israel. I love the Jewish nation. And since we're talking about Am Israel, Rabotai, you know what we will say now? Am Israel Chai. Which is very important. That slowly became the slogan of the rebel yell of Am Israel. And you should be proud of that. So, because, and that's why it's also written without a vav, lechalotam, al tikra lechalotam, ela lekalatam. This is my bride. Am Israel is my bride. So when people come and tell us, oh, you know, God has forsaken you, or God left the world, or, I don't know, God is dead, or, you don't know what you're talking about. You're such a fool. It's better off you didn't say anything. Now, let's go a little bit. You say you like physics. Who said you like physics? Somebody you like physics. Did you ever take physics? Okay, good. According to modern physics, there are two different theories that really represent our reality. One of them is the reality or the theory of particles, and the other one is the theory of waves. Now, if you want to look further, you can look really further into that. In those two different opposing theories, completely, researchers searched and checked and measured that everything is dependent on how you see it. Right? When you're talking about quantum physics, right? the famous experiment with the with one single beam of light, or one, actually not a single beam, one atom that is being shot through holes, and guess what? The atom kind of splits into two, or goes straight into two of them, and it's ridiculous. But that's exactly what it is. So it also it really is, depends on how you look at it, your perspective. In other words, if you're going to check the world or examine things from the theory of waves, right? So therefore, you're going to see everything as waves and so on and so forth. And if you see things as particles, you'll see that you will not. You would see that you were not wrong. Just tell him to take it easy. Just see him that that you see that you were not wrong, because everything also sits very well with particles. So which one is right? Waves or particles? So if you're going to look at if you look at a person, and the person talks about all the time about separation and splitting and so on and so forth, he's going to experience light as particles that exist only in one place. And if the person is the one that is looking, and his limit and his view, his perspective or perception is not limited, he's going to view the world as a wave, as an endless wave that goes and so on and so forth. It's flowing, basically, something that could basically exist in the same time in different dimensions, in different places. So, what is the issue of curses that we're talking about in Parashat BECHUKOTAI? What does exactly have to do with us? It's known that in the Kabbalah books that there is no reality that something bad comes from above. Everything, even if it seems to us right now as bad, ultimately it's good. That's what the Kabbalah says. En ra yored lemala. So therefore the question is asked, how is this settled down or comes into exactly what the Torah tells us, with all the threats and the warning that God is telling us that we have in this parasha? Are we talking about here about this cruel God who sits on the top and says, no, don't do that. You do that, you're gonna get whacked. Is this is the kind of God you think there is out there? God forbid to say that. Our God, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the only God, is a God that of good, of giving, and of endless light. And the whole intent of creation is to give endless good to its creation from God, straight out. So it can't be bad. So therefore, what is exactly happening? So the Kabbalah explains that in creation there is a concept of ovekli. Remember, we talked about male and female, particle, waves, and so on and so forth. So in Kabbalah there is a light and there is a vessel. And the light is always good, right? And that's what we say in the hint for that is En ra yored milamala. So since the light comes from above, nothing bad can come up from it. So therefore it leaves us that the problem is not with the light, the problem is with the vessel. The problem is with the vessel. And the problem is always with the vessel. Or should I say, if we be more specifically, in the preparation of the vessel to receive and to contain the light. Or our preparation to attach ourselves, to dedicate ourselves to the light itself, in other words, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why dvekut, dedication, is very important. If you are not willing to commit, it would apply to all your life. Commitment is something that is essential. That's why the Torah tells us, Kavata itim la Torah, set aside time to learn Torah. As Rav Mordechai Eliyahu said, Torah was not given to the rabbis. Torah was given to all of us, and therefore it is your obligation to learn Torah and not to look at TikTok or Instagram or whatever in the world you're looking at. You sit down and learn. So the commandments were giving us in order for us to know the proper way. It's basically a roadmap for our dedication with the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or to dedicate ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Parashat teaches us that if we are not able to prepare the kli, the receptacle, appropriately, the light is still going to come towards us. It's still going to come. The abundance still comes. But it's going to create a tremendous disharmony and, in a way, suffering to the vessel itself, because it can't contain it. It can't contain it. So, and still is going to come, the light is going to come, and then the oneg is going to turn into a nega, and the shefa will turn into pesha. The pleasure will turn into a disease, and the abundance will turn into a crime or sin. It's the same thing. You just change the letters. How is this going to happen? Well, that's up to you. And that's something that unfortunately most of us don't want to hear. We don't want to hear. That's why we always blame everybody else for everything that we decide in our lives. We always blame somebody else. We're always going to find the scapegoat that why this didn't happen to me. It's not because of what I did. I did everything good. It's because of him or her. But a person like this, and you'll see, a person like this is heading into basically a one-way street. And it's not a pleasant alley. It's a dark alley. And therefore you got to be very careful in the way you choose to see the world. There are people who are obsessed with negativity. They cannot, if you give them a penalty, they'll, $100 for every bad news you give me, they're still going to give you bad news. They cannot see anything good. And as a result of that, their life stinks. It's your perspective, my friends. It's your perspective. So, that light that we are talking about could really be, as we said before, could really be interpreted by people in two different things, based on their own internal receptacle, their own internal vessel. One would say it was good, one would say it was bad. The same thing that with one word, right? If you have a word with one kavanah, can give you tremendous joy, with a proper, or the other way around, it can cause you tremendous agony. It's the same word, it just depends how you say it. So therefore, our job is really to prepare those vessels. The light is always perfect. The light is always perfect. But we need to prepare the vessels. So now let's look again. Let's look at the curses, because there's a big secrets over there. The Parashat of the curses not only starts with a double sentence or double verse, but with 7 different details in it. And let me tell you guys, pay very close attention and do yourself a favor, put your phone down, listen to it. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. It says like this, V'im lo tishmeu li, and if you would not listen to me, V'lo ta'asu et kol mitzvot, and you would not do all the commandments which I tell you, Ve'im BECHUKOTAI timasu, and if my laws, you're going to be repulsed by my laws, Ve'im, and again, if Et mishpatai tigael nafshi. You don't want to have din Torah anymore. You're disgraced by the din Torah. Levilti asot et kol mitzvotai. For you not to do all my mitzvot, and to desecrate and to break the covenant, the treaty in which I have with you. Why do you need all these things? Why do you need the 7 things? If and 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 this. Why do you need this? Right? You should say, if you should not listen to me, or if you're not going to do these things, that's at the end of the story. Why you have to give me all this explanation? I mean, this doesn't make sense. Also, in BECHUKOTAI timasu, v'mishpatai tigael nafshechem, and so on, v'gam levilti asot, and we already said, kol mitzvotai. Why do you have to say it again? So Rashi has something very interesting. Rashi has a tirutz here, and it says, v'im lo tishmeu li, right? Rashi says, "Ma ze liot im lo tishmeu li?" if you're not going to listen to me. What does it mean not listen to me? Rabotai, listen carefully. להיות עמלים בתורה, לדעת מדרש חכמים. Rashi does not say just to sit down and learn Torah. You need to toil on it. You need to work hard on it. In other words, that is your job. If your parnasa is dependent on your job, you're going to do your job. You're going to make sure you do it right. Liyot amelim b'Torah, you're going to toil and work hard. You're not doing a favor to anybody to come in to learn. If you think so, you're a fool. You're arrogant and you're a fool. You are lucky to have an opportunity to come to learn. להיות עמלים בתורה, ואם לא תשמעו לי, if you not listen to me, what Rashi says is a moira degvort, is an amazing concept. It's mind-boggling. Not to toil hard on the Torah is not listening to what God tells you to do. What? I'm putting tefillin on every day, I daven, Adoni, did you learn hard today? No. You didn't listen to God. What? I don't understand that. So it says, להיות עמלים בתורה, לדעת מדרש חכמים, to see, not only לדעת מדרש חכמים, what חכמים are darshing, what חכמים are saying, to learn halacha very hard. יכול לקיום המצוות, that's for, right? That's for the, that's what it is. And he says, כשהוא אומר ולא תעשו, Rashi writes, הרי קיום המצוות אמור, say, you should keep my mitzvot. הרי מה אני מקיים ואם לא תשמעו לי? What is that I'm doing if you say you're not? I'm doing mitzvot. What do you mean לא תשמעו לי? I'm doing the mitzvot, but I'm not learning hard. להיות עמלים בתורה ומה תלמוד לומר לי? מה זה? What does it come to? What does it mean? אין לי אלא זה המכיר את ריבונו ומתכוון למרוד בו. That is a person. When a person does mitzvot and does not learn Torah, does not set aside time that when he learns the Torah, nothing would stop him. Nothing would stop him. He's learning Torah now. There's no yortzeit, there's no eulogies, there's nothing. He said, what Rashi says, it's mind-boggling. It says that's rebelling against God because you know there is God, you're doing the mitzvot. But you are rebelling. You don't want to learn what he tells you to do. You're doing all the 612 mitzvot. One thing is not. You're not learning. Or you're not learning hard. You're not sitting at time. You're doing a favor to come to learn. That's not what he does. So it says, V'chen ben Nimrod. Remember the story of Nimrod, right? Nimrod was a gibor tzayid lifnei Hashem. He was a big hero in front of God, right? Shemakiro umitkaven Nimrod. He knew that there is a God. He knew everything about God, but he wanted to rebel against God. ולא תעשו, and you should not do, משלא תלמדו, לא תעשו. If you're not going to learn, you're not going to fulfill. לא תעשו, הרי שתי עבירות, it's already two עבירות. You're not going to learn, and you're not going to do. ואם בחוקותיי תמעשו, and if you're going to say, all this stuff, what do I need to keep 6 hours, basar bechalav, that's okay, but, it's nonsense. Or I don't know, what does people say? Chalav Israel, I'm just kidding. All this thing, that's old stuff, Chachamim didn't know what it's saying, all these things, Nidal, shtuyot, right? Im bechukotai temasu mo'es be'acherim ha'osim, you're going to start slowly, you see the stages, you're going to start hating the people who actually keep the mitzvot. Because you didn't learn, and not only you didn't learn hard. You're not going to do the mitzvot, and then you're going to come to hate those people who do the mitzvot. Mishpatai tigael nafshechem, my laws, your soul is going to be disgusted. Soneh chachamim, you're going to hate the rabbis. How many times have I told you? You need to make sure that when the time comes and you leave yeshiva, you need to learn on as even harder. Because at the end, if you don't do that, you're going to come to not keeping the mitzvot. You're not going to keep Shabbat. And you're going to hate the rabbis and so on and so forth. I can give you plenty of examples. Plenty of examples. and it says, Sonet HaChachamim, you also, right? And as you can see, one Avera causes another Avera. One Avera causes another Avera, and so on and so forth. And at the end, you preventing from others doing the mitzvot, and you also kofer mitzvot shelo tzevitem, and you're going to throw away the mitzvot that you were commanded, and actually do things you were not commanded to do. That's simply a downfall. That's how it's going to happen. Now you're going to come to become a person who's kofer by Ikar. You're going to say at the end of it, you're going to say, there's no God. It's all made up stuff. The rabbis made it up. The rabbis only want power. The usual stuff. So if you look carefully at Rashi, the deterioration of what we call the BECHUKOTAI comes a stage after stage, which every stage brings you to the next one, right? And in the beginning, it all starts with the person who decides that, you know what, I'm not learning anymore. I'm taking a break from learning. Or this place is not for me, or that place is not for me, or this way is not for me. Here they learn too much halacha, here they learn too much gemara. What does it make? Sit down and learn. You decided not to learn, that's what happens to you. So before you make plans of going to this place, or going to that place, or volunteering to do this, or going to the Peace Corps, I don't know, whatever it is, did you set aside time to actually learn? Because you know what, at the end you're going to come to pay the price, and you cannot afford it. Not you, not your kids, not your grandkids. Nobody can pay for it. Did you make the planning based on your Torah, on your learning, or you didn't? What did you do now? I don't care if Joel Rochebon, whatever his name is, comes and cook a meal for you. You're not having. You're not going. So now, at that stage, the Am Haaretz, right? If a person doesn't learn, he's going to become an Am Haaretz, and he's going to stay in Am Haaretz. So how he's going to commit to himself to do the mitzvot? He just can't. So at that stage, the Am Haaretz is not, as we say, is going to also be repulsed by those who are Shomer Torah mitzvot. Then you can see it in Israel. Oh, the team radical, no, mishugaim atem, how do you, whatever superlatives they give them in Israel, right? And why is that? Because the logic of Torah is so deep, and so much deeper than the logic of a simpleton, of a person, he who is not used to thinking in the way the Torah teaches you, or the way the Torah thinks, deep thinking, analytic thinking, right? The laws of the Torah, the just laws of the Torah, looks to him like small, little, insignificant things that look weird to him, as much as a small child, as a young child that doesn't understand why adults make those kind of decisions that for children look crazy. It's the same thing. And at this world, you are saying, I'm a child that doesn't understand between right to left, between wrong and right, and so on. Nothing. I just have an opinion and I'm talking. This is unbelievable. How, stupid you are willing to look just because you're too stubborn not to learn. It's unbelievable. And then you think you're the smartest guy around. There's no way around it. There's simply, guys, there's no way around it. And at the end, as we said, not only that he's going to rebel against people who keep the mitzvot, he's actually going to say, there is chas v'shalom no God. So if you pay attention very closely to what Rashi said, which we read before, at the first stage, the person that didn't learn Torah, he knows his Creator, but he decided to rebel against him. So therefore, how is it possible that this kind of a man is going to claim that not Hashem commanded this mitzvot? So therefore, if you look carefully in Rashi would say that man in that stage, in the first stage, not necessarily prevents himself from learning Torah altogether. If you look carefully, but he did not work hard on it. He didn't learn Torah in Midrash Chachamim. He didn't learn Gemara with Halacha. It was just some kind of a course in college that he took. Nothing, no implication on himself on what he is to change his life and to look. It's just another topic he's learning. He learned Torah at the first stage, but he didn't care much about it. That's the difference. And by the way, you should know this kind of an attitude really brings you out to a level of lack of seriousness in everything that you do. Once you made up your mind to be serious about something, you gotta make sure you're gonna be serious about this thing until you become the expert. If not, you are mediocre at best. So, and the problem is that level we are mediocre in everything that we do without going deep and trying to understand is an epidemic in all aspects of our life. All aspects of our life. Today, craftsmen are not as they were before, and you know what? Scholars of Torah are not the same as they were before, because we don't want to sit down and really try to understand what's the svara, what's the reason, why he said what he said, and he could have said something else. What is the Gemara trying to teach me here? And the regular learning, but to a higher level. Not to rely on the tricycle of your learning Torah that you're afraid to let go. You need to let go. You need to learn. You need to talk. You need to do the job. Don't look for the rabbi who goes to a shiur and he serves you everything on a silver platter. Go to the rabbi who challenges you to go to learn more. It is not necessarily helping you. That makes you do the work. That's what we are talking about here. And in the next stage, at the end, the kofar is, as we said before, he doesn't believe that there is a God altogether. And why caused him to do this? Because he didn't learn Torah deeply, right? Because if he learned it in depth, he would understand what an amazing wisdom the Torah is. What amazing beauty that you cannot find in any other science. And if he would learn this nonsense that he's thinking would not come to his head, that there's no God in the world. I mean, you got to be an absolutely fool to think that. Look at everything that we are. Look at how sophisticated your nostrils are. And you're going to tell me that there's no God. Your nostrils, for crying out loud. It's unbelievable. So the opposite of deterioration, spiritual deterioration, is spiritual elevation. And we said before what Rashi says, right? In the brachot, that also that liot amelim b'Torah, to learn. In other words, as we said before, it's not only just to learn Torah, but we need to toil and to work hard on that. And that is the reason for that. It says v'natati panai bachem, right? On one side is a klala, and on the edach is a bracha. On one side is a blessing, and we determine how our reality would be. And it doesn't make a difference how many times you turn your back to the light. The love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His good is still there for us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not angry with us, but what it is that we are angry on ourselves. And every time that we are angry, we get frustrated and we make our vessel even smaller and smaller and smaller. So therefore, there's no need to get angry. There's no need to hate, because all you're doing is furthering yourself from the light. You can hate something, because if you know, as I told you this before, there is no world in the Torah, the commandment in the Torah, for whatever event that happened to us, that we are commanded to hate. Even the Amalekim, who were so bad to us, there's no commandment to hate them. There is a commandment to remember what they did, but not to hate them. Why? Because today you hate your enemy, tomorrow you hate your brother. In the world of God, there's no place for hatred. And we need to, again, don't forget things, but don't hate, because it restricts your receptacle to receive the light. And you become, at the end, a bad person because of that. And we need to remember that we are the ones who create the curse or the blessing. Therefore, as we said to you before, everything is in our hands. Now, if BECHUKOTAI telechu, it says, and Rabotai, this is very practical for today, especially for Am Yisrael. It says, Im BECHUKOTAI telechu v'natati shalom ba'aretz. If you follow my commandments, and I will give peace on earth. Guys, peace does not come because two people signed a contract. Peace does not come because you gave up land because some bully threatened to kill you. Peace does not come for that. Israel, the country of Israel, had made a crucial mistake. They relied on the nations. That the whole concept of the nation is to remove Am Yisrael from its God, to restrict the vessel. We are barking on the wrong tree. You want peace? There's not a problem. Let's keep the Torah and the mitzvot. If we're not, everything that the Torah says and more will happen, did happen, and had happened before. Only when we internalize that and we understand that in a way this is our own responsibility to do that, we would stop with the hate. And there is a place the Torah says, Lo tisna et achicha belvavecha, you cannot hate your brother. Even though he did something bad, I cannot hate him. I should give him tochecha, but not hate him. It doesn't make a difference how bad he is. Give him tochecha. He's still your brother. Ian Heavy is my brother. And that's what we need to do at this time. We need to remember and we need to turn ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not to countries, not to leaders, not to anyone. It says in Sefer Yeshaya, at the time will come and I will remove from you anything you lean on to. Why? Because for you to know that I am God, your God. You should lean on me, not on everybody else. And this is the lesson of this week's Parashat. Do not hate, have compassion, and trust in God. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.